We all knew this was coming. We've gone this far into the year with very few updates. But now, we have official confirmation that Steins Gate Reboot has been delayed to 2026 for quality improvement reasons. That being said, Mages didn't leave fans with nothing more than delay notice. With this announcement, Mages has finally unveiled screenshots and visuals of the game, including a few moments from Chapter 1, a couple of CGs, several background images, and the lab members' character designs. So now we have a clearer picture of what Reboot is supposed to look like. Let's start off with the character designs. We saw most of these during the trailer last year, the exception being Daru. At the time, I suspected that there might have been a meta reason for that, but no, it seems it was just a matter of his sprite not having been finished in time for the trailer last year. For the most part, I like these character designs, but don't find them nearly as charming as those in the original. Next, let's talk about the CGs. Mages unveiled 3 of them, each of which correspond to what we see in the prologue and chapter 1 of the original game. The first CG is Kurisu from when Okabe interrupts Nakabachi's conference during the prologue. The second CG is of Mayuri and Ferris at May Queen, and the third is of Kurisu delivering her time travel theory lecture after the first D-mail. For the most part, these CGs show the same general composition as those in the original Steins Gate, but the art and character designs are more modernized and more moe and cutesy, I guess. As for my thoughts on each of these 3 CGs, with the first one of Kurisu from the prologue, I like the neatness of it, but it doesn't really capture the same aura of intrigue as the original version of that CG does. In Reboot, Kurisu just looks like a cute girl, not someone whose eyes make her look like she's blaspheming God. I like the artwork overall, but I don't get the gripping feeling of her staring into my soul. Meanwhile, the Mayuri and Ferris CG looks fairly standard to me. You don't see the May Queen sign in the background, but by and large, it's just Mayuri and Ferris in the new art style. However, where we see the biggest difference by far is with Kurisu's presentation CG. In the original VN, no CG showed any of the actual contents of the presentation on a whiteboard. Rather, we just had a CG with a close-up of Kurisu giving the presentation and saw the contents of it via a cosmic background. So what we have here is completely new. Moving on to the backgrounds, compared to the original game, Reboot's backgrounds are far more detailed. Moreover, they have changed the design and layout of the Future Gadget Lab to a large extent. For instance, in the living area, the table has been enlarged and the cluttered appliance station next to the fridge has been removed. Interestingly, the clock above the couch is no longer just a normal looking analog clock, but rather something much more fancy with a lot of different visible gears. Meanwhile, the stack of boxes by the fridge has been made a lot smaller, and the Garofroggy that used to be on top of the boxes is no longer present. So while there's the same general layout as before, the design has changed a fair bit. It's cleaner and less cluttered than it used to be. I don't think this captures the spirit of the lab as well as the original versions of the background did, but otherwise, I feel pretty indifferent about it. The one thing I am a little bit disappointed about is the omission of the Garofroggy, since that's a Chaos Head reference that's been removed. It's not a consequential reference to begin with, but the very act of removing a reference in a redesign doesn't sit well with me. As for the development room, there have been a number of changes. Plenty of objects have been removed, added, and rearranged, such as with the future gadgets. Among the biggest and most obvious of these changes are with the computer desks. Now, there's 2 completely different types of desks connected with one another, in stark contrast to how in the original, it was 2 identical desks. I suppose this does add to the chaotic feel of the lab, so I don't mind this change too much. Moving beyond the backgrounds and into the in-game screenshots, we actually see what the sprites, backgrounds, and UI look like all together. Personally, I think that while it visually looks more modern, it doesn't seem like much of an upgrade over what we had in the original. Obviously, we'll have to see what it looks like in action since there's only so much that screenshots are able to capture, but I do get the impression that these might not just be plain 2D sprites, but rather something more live 2D-esque like what we got out of Anonymous Code. But hey, We'll see how it looks like in motion soon enough at WePlay Expo 2025 from November 22nd to 23rd, so I'll reserve further judgment until then. But for the time being, I don't feel strongly about the visuals. And that's the opposite of how I felt after seeing Anonymous Code's first few CGs and screenshots back at Comiket 99. Comparatively, Reboot seems like a bit of a visual downgrade so far. That being said, the biggest value of Reboot to myself and a number of other fans was not so much the updated visuals, but rather the story changes and the possibility of it not simply being just a remake, but rather more akin to a meta sequel. And in today's announcement, they reaffirmed that Steins Gate Reboot would have story additions. As for how extensive those story additions are, we do not know. Maybe it'll only have a few small changes, maybe it'll add another route or two, like one from Oika, or maybe it'll be a totally revamped experience that goes off the rails halfway through. We don't know. But from what's been revealed so far, I would be confident that at least the prologue and chapter 1 of Steins Gate Reboot should more or less match up very closely with that of the original game. That much I had expected anyhow. But will it be a simple conventional remake, or will it be something more than that? For the final part of this video, I will be discussing spoilers for the entirety of the Science Adventure series, up to and including Anonymous Code. So as I'm sure you know if you've caught up with the series, the ending of Anonymous Code literally reboots SciEDB, by virtue of it rebooting Gaia, the simulation in which the series takes place in. Thus, the original continuity has come to an end, and a new one has started up. Thus, Steins Gate Reboot could have a double meaning in its title if it's in reference to the simulation reboot. Because of that, along with other hints we'd gotten around the time of the announcement, many, including myself, speculated that Steins Gate Reboot might be a version of Steins Gate that takes place after the Worldline collapse. Please see my video from the time of the announcement for more details on that topic if you haven't seen it as of yet. But in any case, from the information revealed today, we've seen material that corresponds to what we've already seen from the original. But I still believe that Reboot is not just a conventional remake, but rather something more akin to a meta sequel along the lines of the Final Fantasy VII remake or Higurashi Go. I think it would make no sense whatsoever to have Reboot take place in SciEDB's original continuity, especially since the last remake Steins Gate received was also in the original continuity. It would be such an astronomical waste of an opportunity if they were to legitimately just make this nothing more than a cash grab remake set in the original continuity with only a few additions to the story. With Reboot, even if the majority of the story ends up being the same as the original, so long as there's something within the game pointing towards it being a version of Steins Gate taking place post-collapse, it would automatically address so many questions left over from the end of Anonymous Code. So I am definitely hoping that this truly is not just a remake. Intriguingly enough, we've seen that the released background images have a glitching effect. Perhaps that could be a nod to Anonymous Code and its ending. But alas, we'll just have to wait until Reboot actually comes out. Please let me know your thoughts on the game and your thoughts on the new visuals and details unveiled today. But with that in mind, Bossman out.